Just a quick second. All right. Hi, my name is Yash Thakur, and this project I'll be presenting is Northstar. So, Northstar is an explainable equity research platform designed to pressure test a potential trade before someone acts on it. Instead of immediately telling a user to buy or sell a stock, Northstar presents the supporting evidence, the opposing evidence, the risk conditions, and the final risk adjusted verdict. And so the central idea behind this project is simple, that people should be able to inspect the reasoning before a financial signal instead of a blindly trusting an answer. And so to explain why I built it, I'll begin with the problem that I noticed in existing stock research tools. And so the main problem is that beginner investors have access to more financial information than ever before, but that information is often difficult to interpret. Many platforms show a chart, an analyst rating, or a recommendation without clearly communicating why people disagree, what evidences influenced the result, or what conditions could have invalidated it. And so this creates two problems. First, users may confuse a confident looking score with certainty. Second, beginners may never learn how an investment case is actually evaluated. So the problem is not simply a lack of stock information. Instead, the deeper problem is a lack of transparent and accessible reasoning. And so Northstar addresses this by making a disagreement, risk, evidence, and limitations visible. And so a black box can answer and can be difficult to question, and therefore it's easy to misuse. And so my solution was to organize this research process in like a small investment committee. So Northstar divides the analysis into several specialized roles. First, we have the market data component, which is retrieved and validates recent price history. The data cannot be validated, and the system withholds the result rather than inventing one. Next, the bull develops the strongest possible interpretation of the evidence. The bear challenges that argument and identifies the weakness. The risk role examines volatility, drawdowns, confirmation levels, and invalidation conditions. And then finally, the portfolio manager combines this evidence and produces a ranked, risk-adjusted verdict. And so the deployed version currently uses deterministic financial calculations. That
Pause
means
one
this.
second.
Oh,
Here,
yeah.
here it says PM verdict, right? It says rank conviction with a risk haircut. What does that mean exactly? What is a risk haircut?
Um, it's essentially it's essentially a risk-adjusted verdict. So, your risk agent will give you data, and then after compiling the analyses from the bull, bear, and the risk, that's the final verdict that is outputted. And so, I suppose the haircut means that the risks final changes to the verdict, if that
Okay,
makes
so
sense.
it's basically looking at the past three, bull, bear, and risk, and combining them together into a final verdict.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Uh, Please go continue.
Yeah. I'll now demonstrate what the process looks like from the user's perspective. So this is the Northstar homepage. The primary research input is the security universe. So this is right over here, where you can add a max of 5 tickers. So just for the sake of time, I'll just use the tickers that I already have. And so a user can compare up to 5 research tickers in one research run. And for this demonstration, I was doing NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Apple. And so the user can control the research depth, which is up here. And for this demo, I'll use 4 rounds. And each round analyzes a different historical window or an analytical lens. And so increasing the number of rounds will make the results more accurate. And when I ran the desk, it gave us a result. It shows that Microsoft is the most profitable in terms of the stock. And if the user wanted to see the thought process behind it, they can click the View Analysis button, and they'll see the thought process, the data that was used, and the graphs as well. And on the left side, you can see the bull, the bear, and the risk all actively challenging one another to a final verdict. And
Okay.
so, yeah. And so once that research is complete, it will rank each of these, and it will give a score, which is what we call the signal score. And this graph over here shows how all of this evidence balance changes across the research rounds. It makes it more easier to see whether one side consistently dominates or whether that decision remains disputed. And this is all the price history. And so Northstar supports between 1 and 5 ticker symbols between 1 and 30 research rounds. It uses source label history, streams events using server sent events, support line and candlestick chart models, and works across desktop and mobile layouts. The most important feature isn't exactly the total number of controls, it's that the reasoning remains visible and analysis becomes more detailed.
Cool.
So Northstar score ranges from a stronger bear case on the negative side to a stronger bull cases on the positive side. The engine becomes with one the engine begins with 1 month momentum and averages returns across multiple historic windows. And so confidence is capped at around 82% of the user interface guardrail, and that cap isn't a not it's not a claim for the model that 82% is accurate. So I built Northstar as an end-to-end web application. The backend uses Fast API with Pydantic models, providing type requests and response contracts, and the provide layer retrieves Yahoo Finance compatible market history and uses a fallback provider when necessary. And so the
Pause.
analysis and
1 second. Look, this stuff, right? Look, right now, can you explain this in your own words here? Like completely, like what does that mean exactly? Yeah, it uses fast API with Pydantic functions. Like, yeah, anyone, like, can you explain it in your own like simple words? How would you explain this? What's going on here?
could you repeat that?
Explain the slide and the technical design stuff, right? I want you to explain it in simple words. Like, it says fast API type contracts for deterministic debate logic, but like what does that mean exactly?
Wait, I'm sorry, you cut out like last minute. Oh, so
Hello?
you're just asking me like to
Yeah,
explain
just explain these things in your own words. Like, what does that go? Let's go one at a time, right? Yahoo and Nasdaq. What are they doing?
Okay. In simple terms, it does four main things. So first, it takes in the stocks and settings that you enter. So you give it tickers like NVIDIA, Apple, as I showed, and then it fetches market data through Fast API, and then the backend pulls live or recent prices histories, and then it runs the analysis
Does it wait?
through
Pause 1 second. Does it fetch data through Fast API? And what is Yahoo and Nasdaq doing?
Yahoo and Nasdaq are presenting the market data, and Fast API is fetching.
Fast API is fetching, but doesn't Yahoo have their own API? Yahoo Finance.
They took that down recently. They've taken it down for a while.
Okay, cool. Okay, so
Yeah.
really, I used it recently. That's weird. Is
Not really recently. I'd say like it's been down for a while now.
hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So okay, cool. So yeah, okay. So that makes sense. So Yahoo and Nasdaq. Okay, that sounds a bit confused here. Normally, there's Yahoo API, and you just take it directly from there, right? Okay. I was wondering why
Yeah.
you're using
But
Fast API separately. Okay.
yeah, their finance API was I think they took it down after a while. I mean you can definitely search it up, but
Yeah, cool.
Nasdaq hasn't taken it down. So the reason I put Yahoo on this slide was
Yeah, they
because like
provide the data. Yeah.
yeah, they provide like the more efficient like user to user data. That's why.
All right, that makes sense. Cool. Okay. Fast API. Okay. What are typed API contracts? What does that mean?
Typed API contracts are essentially um like it's where you have like these same agents like pulling in requests for information. Ideally, this is for like news. It works with responsive client, which is like the one that's like mentioned under, and that's how they gain like all of the information evidence for debating, and so they determine like the whole logic of the debate.
Typed API contracts for deterministic debate logic, huh? Hmm.
Yes.
All right. Cool. How do you describe what is an SSE stream and a responsive client? What are these two?
Um, so SSE stream is more of like an it kind of like takes into account like all of the events and quantizes them into like um I'd say like a future path for all of the data. And so if, for example, a news portrays something as like negative, right? Then the SEC stream would essentially like return a negative value versus like if it were positive, then it would return a positive value. And so an SEC stream basically translates the news into uh, more quantifiable data.
Well, it's called a server side event stream, right? SSE. Right. Then
Yes.
basically when you're dealing with continuous data streams and like when you're dealing with messages and stuff, right? You're chatting back and forth. In that sort of situation, you use an SSE stream, right? Because the events are happening on the server repeatedly, right? So we want automatic updates immediately, right?
Yeah.
And finally, what is a responsive client? What does that mean?
A responsive client is where you get all the charts news and like guidance. So if like we go here, like this is what we use the responsive client for, which is like a short, like I suppose you could say like news article. Like if you were
Hmm.
to click on one of these, it would redirect to.
Right. Okay. So there's the server and the client, right? What's the difference between a server and a client?
Could you repeat that?
There's a server and then there's a client, right? SSE stands for server side implement events, right? And similarly, you have a response client, right? So, what is the relationship between a server and a client? What are they?
I suppose a server is more as to um I'd say like isn't it like they're they're like two parts.
Hmm?
So the client asks for information and then the server provides them,
In a
right?
sense, yeah, right. So basically, look, server is a computer. Your client is also a computer, right? The client is your computer. Does that make sense? So, because you're the client, right? You're the person who's asking for information here. The server here will be one of Yahoo servers, right? Or maybe through Fast API, we're connecting to one of the Yahoo servers. Right? Yahoo is just like Yahoo has a bunch of data on that they have, and they're doing that stuff, right? So
Right.
basically, the way the internet works, right? Our clients, we communicate with these servers that contain the information about the apps and stuff, right? And then these servers send that information back, right? And then that's how these things load, right? So similarly, like that's why we have an SSE stream, right? So the simple way to describe it is saying that okay, news will constantly be popping up, right? So rather than always ask, like we're not asking for news again and again, just saying like, hey, server, can you just keep track of the news, or like whenever something happens, just send that news to me, right? That is why it's called an SSE stream. Normally, we send a request to the server, be like, hey, do this for me, and you get a response back. Here we're saying that okay, I need continuous, like whatever happens, I need you to keep giving it to me. Right? That's why it's a stream, continuous. It's not like a one
Got
request and one response. Right? Finally, the responsive client, right? We are the client, right? Your app is the client, right? So
Yes.
as soon as the server says like, okay, yeah, I got a new news article, bro. Here, it sends it to us. The client receives it. It automatically updates the page. Right? You don't have to reload the page. Does that make sense? That's why it's
Yes.
responsive.
Correct. Okay. That makes sense.
Nice. I also like the security posture and stuff, right? Salted password hashing. There's a lot of like a lot of cool stuff that I don't think you quite understand though. But other than that, you have a pretty good understanding. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. You know what? We are out of time soon actually. So, do you have anything else to in your presentation?
Um, Not necessarily. It was just like why Northstar matters, and then like what I
Okay,
want to.
that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, you're a smart kid. I think you know what to do there, right? Very well done with the presentation, right? I liked how you spoke on this, right? A lot of people, especially, have a tendency to just be a bit more monotone or like feel like they're reading a script, right? You never felt like that. So I really appreciate that. Right.
All right.
Also, your model is well thought out. Right. You like there's very few things where I usually there's like a very obvious thing I can point out as a flaw, but there was barely any here. Right. That's,
Yeah,
your understanding is also pretty good. Just like brush up on the details of it. Right. That's it.
of
And also
course.
don't like again when you're explaining stuff, right? Don't use fancy words like quantized and blah blah blah. Like again, as if you can't explain it simply, you don't know the concept well enough.